There's a silence in deep space that doesn't feel empty. It doesn't echo. It doesn't ring. It presses. It surrounds everything like a blanket of time itself, thick and infinite. 14 billion miles from home, beyond the warmth of the sun, past the grasp of the planets, a tiny spacecraft drifts in that silence. It doesn't blink. It doesn't pause. It simply listens. For nearly 5 decades, Voyager 1 has been alone, a metal memory of Earth hurled into the dark. And now, in the quiet beyond everything we've ever known, it has whispered something back. A message not in words, not in voice, but in data. Faint, fragile, and yet undeniable. Something passed by. Not one thing, not 10, but hundreds. 775 separate echoes, movements in the dark. And in a voice barely louder than a breath, Neil deGrasse Tyson leaned forward into the camera and said the words that made millions stop and listen. Voyager 1 has detected 775 unknown objects, passing by in space. It's one thing to wonder if we're alone. It's another to catch something moving in the void where there should be nothing at all. This isn't just a discovery. This is a shiver across the skin of human knowledge. This is the moment we look up and realize the silence was never empty. We just weren't listening hard enough. Voyager 1 wasn't supposed to live this long. It was never meant to drift this far. It was built in the 1970s, long before smartphones, before the internet, before most of the world even dreamed of exploring the edges of our solar system. It was a time capsule, a promise, a hope on wings of aluminum and gold. And yet, through radiation storms and cosmic frost, through systems built to last 5 years and somehow stretching to 50, Voyager has kept its promise to watch, to wait, and to tell us what it sees. What it just saw, no one expected. The data came like a heartbeat after a long silence. NASA engineers had spent weeks coaxing Voyager's aging systems back online. A delicate dance of code and timing across billions of miles. And when the signals finally came through, they didn't match anything known. The instruments, dusty and ancient by today's standards, had caught a disturbance. Not noise, not error, but motion, patterns, shapes in the darkness. The readings spiked, leveled, dipped again, and then spiked once more, again and again. It was like something brushing past, then another, and another, and another. By the time the data had been confirmed, 775 separate events had been logged, each one distinct, each one moving, and none of them matched anything we've ever seen. We tend to imagine space as empty, a vast black ocean dotted by lonely stars. Between them, we've believed, lies mostly nothing, a cold vacuum interrupted only by stray atoms or the faint hiss of background radiation. Voyager's discovery tears that picture in half, because if 775 unknown objects are moving past this spacecraft, this sliver of human will sailing through the dark, then space is not a void. It's a road, a storm, a crowd, and we've been blind. Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't speak in panic. He doesn't raise his voice, but you can hear it in his tone, the wonder, the awe, the disbelief. Because what Voyager detected isn't just strange, it's wrong. It doesn't fit. None of the objects match known celestial debris. They're not cataloged. They don't follow expected trajectories. They don't behave like particles or dust or radiation. Some appear to move alone. Others come in clusters. Some flash past in a blur. Others drift by slowly, like watchers, like shadows. They don't fit any model. They don't belong to any pattern we know. They are something else. Some of the scientists try to stay grounded. Maybe they're just interstellar dust clouds, they say, or fragments from a collision we can't see. Maybe Voyager just stumbled into an unusually dense patch of space. Maybe, but the telemetry says otherwise. These aren't random. These aren't glitches. The instruments detected movement, mass, changes in plasma, in charged particles, in magnetic fields, real interactions, real things. Moving past, moving around. as if Voyager itself had sailed into a crowd. For decades, we assumed the interstellar medium, the space between stars, was nearly empty. Sparse hydrogen atoms, the occasional wisp of cosmic dust. But now, in the darkness beyond the heliosphere, that invisible bubble of solar protection, Voyager's sensors are painting a different picture. One of complexity, of chaos, of motion. It's like discovering a hidden forest after believing you were walking through a desert. What are they? That's the question no one can answer. No one, not even Tyson, not even NASA, knows what these objects are. The data isn't detailed enough to capture shape, or size, or color. It only tells us they were there, that they passed, that they moved with intent, or at least with direction. Are they rocks, ice, metal? Are they relics of ancient stars? Shattered planets lost to time? Are they the exhalations of galaxies? Or are they something we've never seen before? Something that doesn't play by our rules? And deeper still, are they watching? It's a terrifying thought, not because it implies danger, but because it reminds us how little we understand. Voyager is 14 billion miles away, and yet it's still inside the Milky Way, still close in cosmic terms. And even here, even this near, we are being surprised. If 775 unknown things can move past one spacecraft in such a short window of time, how many more drift past us every day, every year, unseen, unknown? Maybe we've never been alone in the dark. Maybe we've always been surrounded. This moment, this discovery, is more than data. It's a crack in the shell of human arrogance, a reminder that the universe does not belong to us, that we are still children looking out the window of our little house, imagining the world stops at the fence. But it doesn't. It stretches forever. And now something is moving in it. There's no sound in space, no thunder, no footsteps, just the quiet hum of energy and motion. Voyager heard it, felt it, and sent it back. A whisper across the stars. We were not prepared for that whisper, but it came anyway. Imagine drifting in a canoe through an ocean no one has ever seen. You expect calm, stillness, emptiness. Then without warning, you feel the water shift. You see ripples, waves, something just pass beneath you. Not once, but again and again. You can't see it. You can't name it. But you know you are not alone. That's Voyager 1. Floating in the blackest sea, and suddenly something stirred. The data it sent back is like a journal entry from the edge of reality. A message written in tremors, in surges of particles, in whispers of magnetism and motion. It doesn't shout, but it doesn't need to. Because in the silence of space, even the smallest voice changes everything. The instruments on board weren't designed for this. They were meant to measure radiation, particles, magnetic fields, not to find visitors. And yet that's exactly what happened. Each object that passed by triggered sensors across multiple channels. Each one left a fingerprint, faint, fleeting, but unmistakably real. You might think they were mistakes. A glitch in ancient circuits, a hiccup in deep space telemetry. But Voyager's systems don't behave like that. They are old, yes, older than most people alive today. But they are also among the most carefully constructed machines ever built. And when 775 separate signatures appear, patterns start to form. Patterns don't lie. Some of the objects came in waves. Others arrived out of sync, solitary and silent. They passed by at speeds we can't fully explain. Some far too fast for drifting debris. Others meandering like they were feeling their way forward. Some clustered, some spiraled. Some moved in ways that tugged at the rules of physics we thought were solid. This isn't just discovery, it's confrontation, a face-to-face meeting with the unknown. And not the romantic kind we imagine in science fiction. Not the friendly aliens or glowing lights. No, this is deeper, colder, older. These are things that have been out there forever. We just hadn't noticed. Until now. When Neil deGrasse Tyson spoke about it, you could see it in his eyes. That flicker of fear mixed with awe. Not terror, not panic, but reverence. the kind you feel when standing before something so much larger than yourself that all your questions fall silent. Because this isn't just about science anymore. This is about meaning. Voyager was never supposed to reach this far. It was launched before anyone truly believed in interstellar travel. It was sent with a gold record and blind faith, hoping that someone, something, might one day find it. It was a message in a bottle tossed into a cosmic sea, and now something is moving through the water. The question scientists ask, behind closed doors and late at night, is the one no one wants to say aloud. What if these objects were never meant to be seen? What if Voyager stumbled into something hidden, a corridor, a pathway, a migration of cosmic things not meant for us to witness? Because some of the readings hint at something more than randomness. They hint at repetition, routes, rhythm. As if the objects weren't just moving, but going somewhere. This idea shakes people, not because it sounds like a science fiction plot, but because it doesn't. It sounds like something real, something cold and indifferent, like watching birds fly overhead and suddenly realizing they've been flying there for eons unnoticed. What if space isn't just scattered debris and lifeless dust? What if space has traffic? Imagine a network of pathways threading the galaxy, invisible lanes shaped by gravity, dark matter, or something we haven't even discovered yet. And along those lanes, things move. Not spaceships, not beings, but ancient structures, chunks of forgotten worlds, engines of chemistry we don't understand. Or maybe things built with purpose. Not alive, not intelligent, but designed, long ago, left adrift. Maybe we're not seeing life. Maybe we're seeing its tools. And Voyager, with its tired eyes and aging hands, just caught a glimpse of the machinery behind the curtain. It's not proof of aliens. Tyson was careful not to say that. But it is proof of mystery. Real, living mystery. The kind we've forgotten how to be humble before. Because for all our telescopes and rockets, we still don't know what's out there. We don't know how many of these objects there are. We don't know where they came from. We don't even know what they are made of. But they moved, they passed, they left a mark. That's all Voyager could tell us. But maybe that's enough. Because what does it mean when silence begins to respond? When the universe starts to move around us? For centuries we've stared into the night sky and dreamed. Now for the first time, something stirred in return. This changes how we see everything. Astronomers are already rethinking models of the interstellar medium. Maybe it's not empty. Maybe it's teeming, full of objects that pass too far or too fast to detect from Earth. Maybe Voyager just got lucky, or maybe it finally crossed a boundary. Not of space, but of perception. Maybe it reached a place where we begin to see the galaxy as it truly is. A place alive with movement. A place not built for us. There's something deeply humbling about that. We've always looked at space as a frontier to conquer, a thing to chart, to claim. But this reminds us we are still newcomers, infants in the cradle of the cosmos. Voyager didn't conquer anything. It didn't plant a flag. It simply listened. And the universe spoke, not in words, in motion, in presence, in silence breaking. Back on Earth, scientists are scrambling to make sense of the data. Simulations are being rerun. Old assumptions are being challenged. And beneath it all, there's a sense of something beginning, a shift in our understanding, a doorway creaking open. Because if this is real, if these 775 objects are just the beginning, then we've been blind. Not willfully, just limited. And Voyager, ancient and battered, has peeled back the veil. What lies beyond it? That's the question that haunts every researcher, every astronomer, every quiet thinker staring at the stars tonight. Because the darkness isn't quiet anymore. It's whispering. There's a moment, quiet and almost invisible, when wonder turns into responsibility. It's the moment when awe shifts from simply being amazed to realizing you now carry a burden. Not of fear, but of understanding. And for those who've listened to Voyager's message, to that string of 775 silent footfalls across the interstellar floor, that moment has arrived. What do we do now? Because this is no longer just about curiosity. This is about presence, about something, many things moving near us in the dark, in a region we believe to be nearly still. It's about the fact that our old maps, our neat little diagrams of the solar system and what lies beyond, have left out something vital. There are things out there, not in stories, not in fantasy, in data, in readings, in the pulse of Voyager's ancient heart, transmitted over 14 billion miles of emptiness. Something passed by, and we saw it. We can't ignore that anymore. And perhaps the most haunting part is this: they didn't see us. Or if they did, they didn't stop. Voyager didn't trigger anything. No reaction, no disturbance. The 775 objects moved as if on schedule, as if Voyager were invisible to them, like a leaf drifting through a river that doesn't care it's there. That, more than anything, is what gives some scientists pause. It wasn't that these things noticed us, it's that they didn't. It's the realization that we are not even spectators in this play. We are background noise, static. That truth is both terrifying and beautiful. Terrifying because it reminds us how small we are. Beautiful because it reminds us how much there is still to learn. Neil deGrasse Tyson has always said that the universe is under no obligation to make sense to us. But this stretches even that idea. These objects don't just defy explanation. They rewrite the premise of the question. Because if interstellar space isn't empty, if it has currents, traffic, systems, then the entire way we've thought about cosmic travel, deep space exploration, even the evolution of galaxies, changes. What if stars aren't the only things shaping space? What if the regions between stars aren't barren, but active? What if planets aren't the only homes? What Voyager stumbled into may be the first glimpse of a hidden architecture of the cosmos, a layer of reality not made of light or heat or even matter as we know it, but of paths, of motion, of things drifting on ancient tides too slow or too fast for us to notice until now. It makes you wonder, how much has passed us by? How many Voyager-sized chances have we missed because we weren't listening? How many silent visitors have glided past Earth, unseen, unfelt, because we assumed the silence meant nothing? Because here's the most sobering part. Voyager isn't aiming for anything. It's not navigating. It's falling forward forever, into a darkness no one can steer. And somehow, even there, in a direction chosen at random almost 50 years ago, it found something. What might we find if we actually started looking? This discovery, if it holds up under scrutiny, will be remembered as a turning point. Not because we found aliens, but because we found the unexpected. Because we proved that the universe still has secrets, even in places we thought were mapped and known. And perhaps, above all else, it proves that our oldest messenger still matters. Voyager 1, that tiny flicker of human courage launched when disco was still on the radio and phones had cords, is still teaching us, still reminding us, still breaking our hearts open with the scale and beauty and strangeness of everything beyond our skies. There's something deeply poetic about that. A spacecraft built by people who are now mostly gone, sending home a final gift, a riddle wrapped in motion, a reminder that the unknown is still out there, waiting not to be conquered, but to be seen. Maybe that's the real purpose of Voyager, not to find life, not to carry messages, but to remind us that humility is the first step toward truth, that the universe doesn't owe us answers, but it sometimes gives them anyway, if we're willing to listen. The 775 unknown objects Voyager detected aren't just anomalies, they are questions, each one a knock at the door of our understanding. And now that we've heard them, we have to answer. We have to ask better questions, build better tools, send new messengers, because out there, beyond the last echo of sunlight, the cosmos is not asleep. It is moving. It is alive in ways we never imagined. And somewhere, in the quiet dark where Voyager sails, the story is still unfolding. What happens next is up to us.